to file bankruptcy and start all over again. So that's what I had to do. I filed bankruptcy, wiped everything out. I got my discharge paperwork. And at that point, like the day it discharged, I made a phone call to a friend of mine named Brian. Brian's in the mortgage business. And I said, Brian, I need you to pull my credit and I need to tri-merge all 3 bureaus. And he's like, cool. Are you trying to buy something already? He was a smart aleck. I said, no, I just want to fix my credit right now. So I bought a book called Life After Bankruptcy. I bought another book called Credit Repair for Dummies, and I read the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And I put together a 6-step system to put my credit back together. And these are the 6 steps. Number 1, I pulled my credit. I got to try and merge. Number 2 is I did an evaluation or game plan, and I laid it all out in a row of what was good, what was bad, what needed to be added. Number 3 is something called optoutprescreen.com. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, optoutprescreen.com, the 3 credit bureaus sell all of our information to third-party companies, and that's how we get junk mail. I was wondering how junk mail knew who to go to. But it's actually the credit bureau selling that information, so they know if you have a certain credit score, you qualify for certain stuff. So these companies buy that. You can actually go to optoutprescreen.com and opt out. What that'll do is A, it'll stop junk mail from coming in, which nobody really likes, and B, it'll actually increase your credit score. The reason it increases your credit score, from what I understand from reading all this, is it's a risk factor. Obviously, if you're getting mailed a bunch of garbage that you could possibly sign up for and they stop mailing you, you're less likely to sign up for that garbage. So I suggest everybody, regardless, that's a free one, go to optoutprescreen.com and opt completely out of the junk mailing system. Raise your credit score. Step 4 was establishing credit. If you don't have any credit, there are certain places you want to go. Now, I had filed bankruptcy, so guess what? As soon as I discharged, I started getting applications in the mail because they knew you technically can't file Chapter 7 twice in a row. You can file Chapter 13, and in knowing that, there are certain predatory lending. I'm not supposed to call it predatory lending, so that just decided to turn back on.
You got it?
I guess.
Here.
There, I turned it off.
Okay, he's got it.
So there's certain predatory lending. I'm not supposed to call it that, but they start mailing you as soon as you get out of bankruptcy. And part of the problem with them doing that is the cards that mail you right after you file have a higher default rate than those you could go find online. So even if you get the exact same cards with the exact same limits, your score does not go up as much. So I went on and I found the ones where your score goes up higher, and I recommend those. If you want the free PDF on this, I'm going to offer that for free to anybody who instant messages me. Instant message me on Facebook, jeffreydavidgamble.com. No, I'm kidding, it's not a .com. It's just on Facebook, Jeffrey David Gamble. Right now, there's a picture of me and my fiance in UFC fighting gear, which sounds weird, but I'll explain later. Step 5 is the letter writing process to the credit bureau. So there's something called a dispute. Now, there's 2 things that the law kind of writes in the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Number 1, all the information in the credit report has to be accurate. Number 2, it has to pass through about 100 different laws. There's 100 different things that have to be accurate to be able to put it on your credit report. Well, the unfortunate part is about 80% of the information that's sitting on credit reports is inaccurate. Inaccurate balances, inaccurate payments, inaccurate addresses, and you can challenge that through a process called disputing. It's a letter writing process to the credit bureau. So the problem is if you have something wrong on one bureau, typically it shows up on all 3 bureaus. So you don't have to write 1 letter to correct it, you have to write 3. You have to write 1 individually to each credit agency. The agency then by law has 5 days to contact the creditor, and the creditor has 30 days to get back. So it's like a 40 to 45 day process. At that point, you get basically a letter back in the mail and said, hey, here's your dispute, here's what happened. A third of the time, what happens is nothing happens. It updates exactly how it did. And the reason it updates exactly is because it's a computer system and it didn't go to anybody. A third of the time, they don't respond back at all. Now, if it doesn't respond back at all, by law, they have to take it off. So a third of the time, it's just going to come off because you disputed it. Doesn't mean it can't come back on. It just means right then, you can actually remove it. And then a third of the time, they actually update it the way it's supposed to go. Now, step 6 of this process was payment plan, settlement, negotiation, and or suing the creditor for not doing what they're supposed to do. When I went through this and did this personally, I had a lot of good friends that were attorneys. I know the average person doesn't have that. So I actually used some of my friends, basically help, in some cases their letterhead, to write some letters to some creditors that weren't performing the way they were supposed to, and said, hey, if you don't, the alternative is we take you to court and we sue you, not just for the amount, but for the amount times 3, which is the damages, which you can read in the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So I was able to take my credit score from basically a 500 the day out of bankruptcy, 7 months later to a 700, and once I had a 700, I knew I had fixed it, because all of a sudden, guess what I started getting? Every single pre-approval letter in the world. You know, American Express all of a sudden. When American Express starts buying your information and mailing you stuff, you basically made it back in a good place. I got that. I got car loan information. I got businesses, you know, I mean, they were just, everybody was mailing it. I had to go back through opt-out again because I had signed up for some stuff and applied when I got my secured card, and basically opted back in. Every time you apply for anything, you kind of opt back into that system, and then you have to opt back out. So you can do it more than once. It's a consistent thing. That was the 6 steps. Now what happened from there is I turned this around and I started helping people who wanted to buy a house, who wanted to get a mortgage. I started helping people fix their credit, and mortgage and real estate people started actually calling me. Eventually, about 6 months after I had been doing this consistently for other people, a friend of mine shared basically a service with me that assisted in doing this quicker. And the service had actually been around for years. In fact, it had been around since the 70s. And just to give you kind of a quick backstory, the gentleman who actually started the company was in a car accident in the late 60s. Somebody turned in front of him, hit him, flipped his car, sent him to the hospital. While he was in the hospital, the person who hit him hired an attorney, and the attorney found out that this gentleman had speeding tickets and basically said, go sue this guy, and you'll get out of the accident. And that's exactly what happened. The founder of our company actually woke up out of the hospital, got served with papers. The person who hit him had an attorney, and he didn't. They went to court. You could probably guess who won. The person who had the attorney won. And the founder was like, okay, this doesn't make any sense, because full-time he was a teacher and part-time he was in insurance. So he's like, look, I had all the insurance you're supposed to have. I had the car insurance, I had the health insurance for the hospital stay, I had life insurance in case I passed, I had, you know, home insurance in case my house burned down. Where is legal insurance? And it didn't exist at that time. So what he ended up doing is he started searching for it, and he didn't find it until the early 70s. He found that in Europe they actually had a program like this. So what he did is he grabbed their program, created his own, and brought it back to the United States, and started his own company in 1972. Now it took from 1972 to the mid-90s to put together a nationwide network of attorneys to cover this plan. And this plan today covers 7 areas of law, and I'm just going to run through it really quick. The first area is preventative. You have the ability to pick up the phone and call anywhere in that network, get an attorney on the phone, and ask basically unlimited questions and an unlimited consultation on any subject matter concerning law that deals with personal, your personal. You want to start a business, you're thinking about starting a business, you're wondering why Walmart overcharged you and won't help you out. Something happened at work, whether that be discrimination or, somebody shorted you money, you can pick up the phone and call and say, hey, what are my legal rights? They'll also review letters and documents sent to you. They'll actually make calls and write letters on your behalf. Now, this is where I actually use my 6 steps, is now that I had access to these attorneys through this system, I had the attorneys, if they were willing to assist and write a letter. After I went through the disputing process, I would actually ask these attorneys to help out and assist with payment plans, settlements, negotiations, or a letter to threaten to sue the creditor for not doing what they're supposed to do. In preventative, they'll also do your will, living will, and healthcare directive as part of the membership. The second part of the membership, which has nothing to do with credit, but just part of the service, is motor vehicle. In case you get a speeding ticket or stop sign violation, you can snap a picture of it and basically send it into the law firm. The law firm will represent it, and basically their goal is not to get you out of the ticket, but to make sure there's no points on your license, keep your insurance rates good. The third area is civil defense. So in case somebody trips and falls or tries to sue you civilly, they help you out. The fourth area is IRS audit in case you're audited. The fifth area is a 25% discount You are already going to need an attorney if you're going to use a 25% discount. This is for criminal, this is for divorce, this is for bankruptcy, this is for stuff that you already knew you're going to have to go through. Now they'll add it up and you get 25% off what the normal hourly rate would be for one of these firms. There is a rating system inside of law. All of our, I think it's like 92% of the firms are 80 rated, which is the highest rating you can actually have for a law firm. Martindale Hubble is actually the book that you go look in. I don't even know why I remember that, but that's actually the rating system. The sixth area is non-contingent. So if you happen to be going through a divorce and it's already been decided you just need somebody to help you fill out the paperwork, name change, or custody, you can actually, after making 3 payments in, use the law firm and they'll help you out. The seventh area, I like kind of the best. Everybody's heard the phrase, you have the right to remain silent, you have the right to an attorney. Well, the nice thing is with our program, you have the ability to have a card on you along with the 24-hour access, and there's actually an app that you can download, and it's an emergency app. You can hit that button, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can actually get an attorney on the phone, because the phrase, you have the right to remain silent and you have the right to an attorney, you do have the right, but you actually have to have that attorney on retainer to be able to use them. So that's what this service does, is it puts that legal service in your hands, and actually you have them on retainer, so you can call them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for emergencies, arrest, if the police show up, an accident, CPS come to your house, you can get the attorney on the phone. So that's the first part of what we do. The second part of what we do is this company decided in partnership with a company called Kroll. Kroll is the leading risk management company. By mid-2000, one of the #1 crimes in America happened to be identity theft. Identity theft is something that's hit almost every person I know. If they haven't been hit by it, they know somebody that's been hit by it. So our company actually partnership with Kroll and created something called ID Shield. And most companies out there in the space of identity theft cover 2 areas of identity theft. Number 1 is social, number 2 is banking. Those are only 2 areas, and those are probably only about 25% of all identity theft. The other 4 areas are kind of the issue, so we cover all 6. We also cover not only social and banking, we cover medical, we cover taxes, we cover character and criminal, and we cover driver's license. Because people will steal your driver's license, people will use that information, go get hospital things done. I mean, you can imagine how dangerous that could be. So we cover those 6 areas. Kroll monitors every single piece of information you decide to put in the computer. Whether it be your passport, driver's license, medical history, Facebook page, the dark web, etc., etc. If you get hit by anything, a private investigator is hired to basically put you back together the way you're supposed to be, at their cost. It does have a cap at $5 million total, so we'll probably be able to put you back together. I've had friends been hit by it, and they, the nice thing is they alerted them, they said, hey, shut it down, put it back together, and they got put back together. So those 2 services combined, what would that be worth? When I first got asked the question, they said, what would a nationwide network of attorneys cost along with identity theft? I'm like, a couple $100 easily for a family. And the guy said, yeah, but that probably wouldn't be affordable. He goes, what they've done is they've packaged these 2 together, $35 for a single person, or just under $50, it's actually $49.90 for a family. That includes husband, wife, or significant other. That includes one or the other, not both. You can't have husband, wife, and a significant other. Just one or the other. Have to be clear now because of the times. Up to 8 kids, living at home underneath the age of 18, or anybody in college up to the age of 26. That's a full-time student. So that's what our coverage. And I was able to pair these services with my 6 steps and help people get back on track. That comes down to the 3 kinds of people we're looking for outside of customers, obviously. There is a business version of our legal plan. So for those of you who own a business, whether it be a home-based business or any business up to 99 employees, we should probably talk, because there's a business version of it as well as a CDL program. So if you know any truck drivers, obviously if their license is in jeopardy, their job and career is in jeopardy, we have a CDL program as well. Outside of customers, we're looking for 3 kinds of people. The company's expanding, and we're basically looking for reps all over the country. Number 1, we're looking for salespeople to sell these memberships. Number 2, we're looking for business-to-business sales reps, somebody who's going to go into a company and actually market this. That's more of like somebody who has experience, whether you're in insurance or real estate or financial services, kind of with that background. And then 3rd, we're looking for both part-time and full-time, and spare time for matter of fact, recruiters and trainers. The company is expanding. They're looking for people who want to recruit, build a sales force, and train a sales force, who wants to be a sales trainer. So what I'd say is get back with the person who actually invited you to this video, and we'll get you that information ASAP. Thank you so much for watching.